Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So today, Bitcoin is starting out the day in red. And that's because there are some major things happening. One thing that we need to all watch out for. So let's talk about all these things and let's talk about what we should do about it. All right, let's do it. Welcome, guys. Good morning. Unfortunately, Bitcoin is showing some weakness today. We're around 63,000. We dipped to 62,000 a little bit. Let's see if we can bounce up from here. But one thing that came out of left field that I did not see at all, and hopefully this is just a rumor, not something that is actually possible for this year. And that is this. So we've been hearing a lot about the Fed in the US cutting rates, right? We're still very high. And Powell himself has said that, hey, we're going to cut rates 3 times this year. And this was only like a month ago. And now, at least the options market thinks that because of inflation coming back up, not only are we not going to have 3 cuts, we may get an increase within the next 12 months. That will be wild. That would be absolutely wild. Again, this is just the options market. This is not Jerome Powell coming out and saying it. This is not a Fed governor saying it. Most Fed governors believe that inflation is still high. We need to have elevated rates for a little bit. Powell himself has said that just recently, saying, well, we might have to push back cuts, right? But hey, if inflation actually starts going up, are cuts really going to be on the table, right? That's the question. That's crazy if that happens. We actually raise rates once again. So something that'll tell us whether that's actually a possibility is the core PC inflation that's coming up tomorrow. So this is the one. I mean, there's two measurements of inflation. We have CPI, Consumer Price Index, and PCE, Price Consumer. I don't know what the E stands for. Expenditures, I think. But the one that Powell really cares about is the PCE, right? So we know that CPI already went up, it ticked up a little bit. Now let's see if PCE says the same thing. So here, I mean, that's the thing. The reality is, I still don't think there's any chance that we will get another rate hike, okay? We may have elevated rates for a while. Maybe the rate cuts gets pushed to 2025, or instead of 3, we do 2 or 1 instead, right? But this notion that somehow there's going to be a rate hike again in the US, that would be absolutely disastrous. And that will send markets crashing. If there's any notion, if Powell himself or any board governors come out and say, well, I think we need to raise rates again, as soon as markets hear that, markets will tank. So hopefully this is just option traders just being option traders and making bets and not, there's no truth to it. But anyways, just want to start out with that. That's a little scary. What else is scary is yesterday, I did cover how Grayscale did sell 130 million yesterday, increased. But overall, now we have all the numbers, a little scary too. Of all the other ETFs, we only saw a net inflow of basically 10 million. So overall, we had a net outflow of 120 million. Again, almost all of it due to Grayscale. The other ETFs didn't really sell. They just didn't buy. But Grayscale continued to sell. So, I mean, the market opened today already, right? Let's see what happens. I still don't know what's going on with Grayscale. I don't know why they just increased their selling. Why there's any selling at all? Why are they not like the other funds where, they just stay even? Or maybe even see a little net inflow, but it's just constant net outflow every single day. It's getting tiresome. It's getting tiresome. So this is what it looks like. Obviously, we had really good inflows right after ETF. And then recently, things have stalled a little bit, consolidated a little bit. But overall, yesterday, a negative 1.9 thousand Bitcoin coming out. So that is no good. I still want people to figure out why so many are selling Grayscale. I mean, they're the only ones really that's selling at this point. I just don't know why. I don't know why. And as for more negative news, today's just the onslaught. But don't worry. I'm going to get to the good parts. So it is expected that spot Ethereum ETFs will get denied as well. Even though Grayscale, well, I mean, this might be a good thing because Grayscale is trying to convert their Ethereum trust into spot Ethereum ETFs. And if history is any indication, that means they're just going to dump all the ETH. And ETH is going to start getting weaker. Hopefully that's not the case. But BlackRock and Fidelity and others, they're trying to come out spot Ethereum ETFs. Hong Kong have just approved. But in terms of US, all these fund managers trying to incorporate staking, so that's going to make things more complicated. So it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. Maybe later this year, but right now, it's not looking like that's going to be reality. Okay, so I don't know. I don't know if anyone really expects this to go through this year. I don't know. This is not really bad news. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think the deadline, the deadline is around August, right? So, maybe around August we'll get more traction. That's only 4 months away. All right, with all this negative and scary and fuddish news this morning, okay, what do we do with this data? Okay, what do we do? Does this mean that we all need to get out of Bitcoin and Ethereum and out of the market because it could become really, really, really scary really quickly? Or do we take the opportunity to seize the moment and DCA further and continue to pile on and add to our portfolios while things are cheap? I think you guys know my answer. It's the latter, okay? Because even though Bitcoin is down a little bit, we have seen this level just 5 days ago. This is not anything new. And we have seen many fuddish news come and go all the time. But what you need to look at, two things: fundamentals, okay? That has not changed. And also, looking at a macro scale, all this talk about rates and stuff like that. Why? It's because of inflation, right? And the true hedge against inflation is Bitcoin. There's no better hedge against inflation. So if the Fed raises rates because of inflation, that's horrible. Markets will crash, but ultimately it's going to help Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the best way to hedge against inflation, right? And the fundamentals have not changed for Bitcoin. In fact, look at these two on-chain metrics that show Bitcoin is at its best moment to buy right now. That's quite interesting. One has to do with funding rate for futures, which is actually turning really cheap and into the negative, which means, because right now it's really tough to play with leverage, right? People getting liquidated left and right. But this is one of the indicators people look at whether or not a market is overheated or not, right? And right now it's not. It's really cooled off. And we haven't seen these negative funding rates anytime this year, really, until now. So that's number one. But more importantly, something else like MVRV Z-score, which has shown tops and bottoms of cycles and have predicted it pretty darn accurately, shows that, hey, we're nowhere close to the top. Nowhere close. So in this bull run, we are just getting started. Okay? We are just getting started. Despite sometimes we have these fuddish news and the markets could look very scary, Bitcoin does not care. Bitcoin is pure, run by code, and just continues to move on, right? And the beauty of that is Bitcoin can't be changed. You can't apply monetary policy to it. You can't artificially inflate it. You can't just mint a billion more Bitcoin. unlike central banks and the Fed around the world, right? This is why Bitcoin is going to go higher, because ultimately we have more demand than supply because Bitcoin is scarce. So Bitcoin wallets that have at least $1,000 worth, okay, 1,000. Most retail investors have at least 1,000. I bet most of you guys have at least 1,000 worth of Bitcoin. Have jumped 20% since the start of 2024. Okay, so it means that yes, retail investors, even though may not be leading the market right now, they are still accumulating, along with the whales, which I've shown many metrics before, and institutions, obviously, because of the ETFs, right? So just take a look at that. Number of addresses with over $1,000. We're at all-time high. You go all the way back. It's kind of hard. The orange is the price. The green is tracking the wallets. And you could see basically the wallets have gone up and down a little bit, but overall just trending upwards and upwards and upwards and upwards. More and more people on the planet is loading up on Bitcoin. Okay, that's not going to change. This is part of the growing fundamentals that I talk about. Number of holders, the time people hold their Bitcoin, like how long it's been, and everything else, the hash rate and everything that measures network activity, volume, and everything else is going upwards, all-time high, right? So that means a whole lot. Yes. And then, of course, you have the wealthier people. Morgan Stanley is going to allow its brokers to pitch Bitcoin ETF. And most of these banks already have financial wealth financial divisions that are already pitching their high net worth individuals Bitcoin and Bitcoin ETFs. But now they're just going to allow them to pitch to anyone, right? But they've been doing this for a long time already. Don't fool yourself into thinking, oh, now they're just getting started. No, they've been doing this for a while. Even JP Morgan, as bearish as Jamie Dimon is towards Bitcoin, Gary Gensler's brother, okay, I forgot what his name, but he looks identical. They're like twins. He works for JP Morgan as a wealth advisor, and they've been talking about Bitcoin to their wealthy clients for like over a year now. Think about that. So, bottom line is, you know what? Stick with Bitcoin. If we have weakness, we have periods of weakness all the time. If you look at previous bull runs, yes, we go up and down. We go up and down all the time, okay? Living through it doesn't feel so good, but we get past it. Bitcoin jumps up to a new level, and no one remembers. That's just how it works. And here's something funny, because recently a lot of gold people have been saying, well, gold hit an all-time high. It's like 2,500. Look at Bitcoin. It's garbage. It's going down. Well, can you guys even see, like, the purple line is Bitcoin's annual return, which is over 100%, by the way. It's quite high. And then you look at gold and S&P 500, their returns are so low, you can't even notice it bumping upwards. Okay, so in case you're hearing a lot of gold bugs claiming how they're winning and Bitcoiners are losing, you know, just give them a gentle reminder the difference between gold and Bitcoin over the past decade, and then hopefully they shut up. From a technical standpoint, we have a lot of good things still in play. Here's one that shows that there is going to be a breakout soon. There's a lot of bullish flags or bullish pennants or whatever else. Here's one that shows the Wyckoff accumulation, okay? And it does actually look very, very, very similar. During crypto winter, we have seen Wyckoff pattern come up again and again and again. And here, actually, this looks exactly like the Wyckoff accumulation. And why do we have Wyckoff accumulation? It's for the institutions of Wall Street and the big market makers. It's for them to scare out retail while they accumulate more. That's why this was created, really. There's a specific pattern that they employ that scares the bejesus out of retail investors, like kind of like what we're going through right now. I mean, if you look at that, it's identical, right? And this is over a course of months, not days, months, right? So normally people you can find anything you want if you zoom in enough, right? Like within the shorter time periods. But to see it on a grander monthly scale, that's pretty hard. And if you look at that, that's exactly the pattern we're going through, which means once we get out of this phase D, we're shooting up back, and then we're ready to make the next leg up, right? So very, very interesting. And here's something else from a technical perspective. You look at the RSI, right? You look at a downward trend, and then when we are ready, we break out, and that's when Bitcoin forms another high. And it looks like we're right there. We're pressing against that trend line, right? So again, we're right there, guys. Do not be giving up. Do not do it. Okay, last few things. Coinbase is going to launch some new ad campaign, and they're going to pay their vendors with USDC instead of cash. So they're fully embracing USDC. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And then also they, yesterday they just launched Pepe futures. Now they're launching WIF futures. So I don't know if it's helping WIF today because today is a little scary, but yeah, they have that. And then lastly, good for this guy. Remember the guy that wrote "Buy Bitcoin" behind Janet Yellen in 2017? He just sold that notebook for $1 million in Bitcoin. We need to all storm into those congressional hearings. I'm surprised he didn't make it into an NFT. I'm surprised he didn't make an NFT and try to sell it. But yeah, he sold that notebook to this guy, I guess, for 16 Bitcoin. Good for him. All right. Bitcoin coming up a little bit. That's good. Let's do some Q&A. My Semi X says, George, I bought $100 worth of Bitcoin, but the fee to transfer to self-custody wallet is so expensive. How expensive? For Bitcoin transactions, probably a few bucks. Shouldn't be that much. All right, let me scroll up here. Let's see. Ooh, did PC come out today? No, today GDP came out, slowed to 1.6 rate in the first quarter, well below expectations. Well, that's no good. Today overall is a brutal day in the U.S. So that's not helping things. Wow, GDP was anticipated to come in at 2.4% and came out at 1.6% instead. Oh, PCE did come out today. I thought it was tomorrow. Rose to a 3.4 annualized pace for the quarter's biggest gain in a year. Well, that really sucks. Yeah. So it was 1.8%. PCE was 1.8% last quarter, and now it jumped up to 3.4%. Ooh, that's no good. Excluding food and energy, it rose at 3.7%. That's even worse. Yeah, that's no good. shows the economy is slowing down and inflation is going up. That's a bad combination. Those are metrics that we don't want to hear about. David Guyton says, will you buy my notebook I wrote CRU on for 10 BTC? No, I'm not that silly. Still bullish on Beam? Sort of. Gaming narrative has really slowed down. You don't really hear about games doing getting very popular and doing very well right now. So that's why Beam slowed down. But once the gaming narrative comes back, then yes. Like I said yesterday, people are waiting for FOMC. Well, the US market is certainly... Well, Bitcoin, though, is coming up. Let's see if Bitcoin could build some momentum here. I mean, remember what I said. When it comes to inflation, what hedges against inflation the best? Bitcoin, right? So we did fall down to like 62.7. Let's see if we can hold or we go down with the US market. But remember, guys, this is not new. We have seen this. We have seen Bitcoin go down. This was actually when I was in Paris and at a restaurant. We just saw this happen, right? And we saw this happen and this happen. We have seen this before. Hopefully we don't see it again, but just keep in mind we have seen this many, many, many times, even a week ago, and it goes back months ago too. So right now Bitcoin's kind of like in that period. But, man, the stock market is not doing good today. Today could be absolutely brutal in the U.S. market. What is Coinbase down 3.4%, MicroStrategy down 3.5%, Tesla's still up, Meta falls. Meta actually had really good numbers, really good numbers, but they tanked because their forecast was so bad. Sell your XRP educational video. It's worth at least 1 million BTC. Well, I do have the only copy of that. So maybe when it gets too bad and I need to DCA more, I will consider that. What is the max pain for expirations tomorrow? You know, that's a good question. Tomorrow is the last Friday of the month. Do I even have that up? I don't think I have that anymore. I used to. Let me see. Let me see if I can find it. No, I don't have that page where I find the max pain anymore. Sorry, I'll have to look at it. George, thoughts on X payments? Seems like the crypto they'll choose is XRP or Doge. I don't know why you throw XRP in there. There's zero chance that XRP is going to be one of the currencies in that payment system. Doge, maybe. I think what it's going to be is the payments will be in fiat, but they will incorporate some kind of crypto wallet feature. So I think with that, it'll be Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Doge, something like that. But I don't know if he's actually going to Elon's going to use crypto for payments at all. I think he may just build in a wallet. Jordan, what about a new bill for tax on unrealized capital gains? I covered that yesterday, Marcus. Biden's proposing a 46.6% tax rate on capital gains and a 25% on unrealized gains, which are both pretty ridiculous if you ask me. And that came out yesterday, so I covered that last night. Hopefully that doesn't happen. That would be absolutely ridiculous. Thoughts on Shrapnel? Well, Shrapnel is a very hyped up game. They have some integration on Avalanche. They have their own subnet on Avalanche. But like it's more like a Web 2 thing. I know they have decent amount of players. There's Twitch streaming and so forth, but you don't really hear a lot about like hardcore crypto people playing it, right? It's more like a Web 2 game. Crypto's down, but George is always up. There should be a George token to hedge everything. I don't think I'll ever come out with a token. I don't want the scrutiny. It's like a day like today, like if I had a meme, it'll probably be down like, 30%, right? Like, and then everyone on stream will ask, well, what's going on with George token, right? Like, what can I say? If it's a bad market, everything's gonna go down. See, I don't want that scrutiny. I bet Rand is having a field day today, answering about why his meme is down 40% today. Zodiacus, Zodiacus. I don't know. That's a really strange name that I can't pronounce. Maybe it's not strange from where you're from. George, going to test drive 458 this weekend. Curious to see if it's worth 100k euros upcharge in comparison to the F430 Spider manual. No, it's not. If you have to pay 100k more for a 458 over a 430 manual, don't do it. Get the manual. But I think there's something wrong there because there's not that big of a difference. 430 manuals go for an insane amount of money, at least in the US. Maybe in Europe, maybe if you're in Italy or something, it's not that big of a deal. But a 430 manual in the US, they're impossible to find. And they're all over 200 grand. So usually the markup is not that big. I would say go with the manual. But if you're going to get a 430 non-manual, then go with the 458. Shady look, I get it, but it's funny. Most crypto influencers shirted, I get what you're saying, on memes, and the tune completely changed. You know who changed that narrative? I feel like I did. I feel like I changed that narrative. Like, I came out and embraced Neck because I actually talked to the people. Then I embraced Cock. And then I started getting into memes. And then I think other people are like, oh, George is talking about memes, so it's safe to talk about memes. And they're all talking about it. Like, I hate to toot my own horn, but I set trends all the time. Like, I set the trend of covering FOMC meetings during crypto winter. Everyone started copying that. I started setting trends using on-chain metrics even before that. Then everyone started copying that. Yeah, I mean, it's just you just gotta change sometimes, right? Memes obviously is playing a big role of this cycle. A lot of people are liking it. A lot of people are making money, and it's changed because a lot of these memes are officially supported by the chains they're on, and they're getting big grants to stay on the chains. I mean, it's a little bit different than before. Thoughts on RWAs like Ondo and Polymesh? They're fine projects. They're fine projects. A lot of RWA projects are covering more like tokenizing yield and treasuries and money markets. Those I just have no interest in. Do you think DFK can lead GameFi this cycle? I don't know if it can lead. It has a long ways to go just to get back to the previous. Long ways to go. But I know they're working hard at it. So I don't know if they can lead it, but they come back. Full moon didn't work out this time. Yeah, unfortunately. Most full moons, I'd say it doesn't most, but usually if you look at full moons, the full moon cycle, either you get a pump or a crash that proceeds afterwards. And unfortunately this time around, I guess we got a crash. So the last few have all been ups. This is up, 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 up. Just this one is a down. But I mean, we had some where full moons, you know, brought down like the market, right? Like here's the bottom point. Here is a down point. So I don't know. It works until it doesn't, just like all TA, right? That's just how it is. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But here's the thing. This is what I showed last night. Okay, I'm going to zoom out for you guys. This shows all the halving events that ever occurred. And you could see it takes a while before that parabolic rise starts and ends. Okay, so it's not immediate. Even the last one that we had, it took 5 months before we started going upwards. So we just had a halving. We're way up here. We're not down here. We're not down here. Okay, so again, don't be panicking. We are up here right now, not down here. If we were down here right now at the halving event, then I would say, okay, we're probably not doing so well. The last time we had a halving event, Bitcoin was at $8,000. So think about that. So if we were at 8,000 right now, I would say, yeah, maybe the 4-year cycle is broken. But that's not the case. So think about it. Last time we're at 8,000. Right now we're at 63,000. Big difference. But it took 5 months before Bitcoin started going upwards. So if we have to do 5 months from here on out, that means September. Somewhere around right here is when we start really moving upwards. So we maybe we just trend a little bit here, okay, until September. And then that's when we go to, I don't know, whatever, up here, somewhere up there. So just keep that in mind, guys. US market is down what? Ooh, 700 points. I don't think we've seen that in a while. That's why I covered some option traders are actually now thinking that there's a 20% chance the Fed will raise rates. Now, if there's any notion of that, that would be horrific for markets. Traditional markets, I should say. Ever heard of GMRX? Antonio asks. GMRX. Never heard of it. Gammon. We're powering gamers everywhere. Yeah, so it's like what you said, like a render, deep in play, but mostly for games, not for AI. Well, they say Web3 gaming and cloud computing. What they really need to do is say they're going to do it for AI, even though they may not be, but they need to. They debuted in March and has been trending down since then. There are several big exchanges already. Bybit, KuCoin, Gate. The problem is they're on BSC. I haven't seen a BSC project do well forever. Outside of PancakeSwap, I haven't seen any other BSC project go over like 100 million. Like, it just doesn't happen. They just have such a weak ecosystem. But here's the good thing. Hey, Bitcoin is trending upwards. Even with the US market going down, people are starting to recognize, hey, this is the time to buy Bitcoin. Right? Buy it to hedge against inflation. Did I try FSD V12 yesterday? I did actually, Kyle. I haven't driven my car for like a month, so I updated it, and then there was another update. But I did drive around the block and across the street from where I am with V12, and I will say this: it does seem like it's smoother. Now, I was driving during a time when there was not a lot of traffic, there was not a lot of cars and people. It still scares me when I let it drive among like other cars and stuff, but I'll have to give it more extensive testing. But I do feel like it's a little bit smoother, a little bit smarter. The braking and the stop and go is smarter. But when it makes turns, it's still god-awful slow. When it's in a parking lot, like a shopping center parking lot, it's too slow. There are still some things it needs to fix, but like on the street, it did seem like it was smarter. So I have to test it out more. Although we have some short-term bearish, some short-term bullishness is Hong Kong ETF buying spot Bitcoin. It starts Monday. That's the thing. I don't know what kind of effect Hong Kong will bring because it's for Ethereum and Bitcoin. So if they have tremendous volume like Wall Street, then yeah, we're going to see huge things happen. That next leg up will probably happen if the volume from Hong Kong is tremendous. Look at Bitcoin trending up now. Ivan says it's literally amazing. It works in traffic. It literally passes people on the highway. On the highway, I'll give you that. FSD on the highway is near perfect. The lane changes, the automatic lane changes, and so forth, stop to go. Like, highway is easy because everyone's going in one direction, okay? And the lines are clearly marked. FSD on highways is near perfect. If I had to do a 0 to 100 scale highway, probably like 95. That's how good it is. And it can take off ramps too and stuff. But city driving, that's a different story. lines unmarked. Sometimes you don't see the lines. And sometimes you have, you know, weird traffic directions, patterns, right? And there's a lot more stop and go, a lot more turns. You got to watch out for a lot of cross traffic, pedestrians, bikers, so forth. So in the city or local driving, FSD really struggled. If I had to rate it from 0 to 100, I would have rated like a 25. It's just nowhere close. Now with V12, it does seem like it's a little bit higher. I have to test it more. I'd say maybe it's up like to 50 now, but it's still nowhere as good as Highway. Highway's near perfection. Danny says, you do not understand how good V12 is. I understand it. I have a car with it. It's not like I'm just talking and making it up. I have a Model X Plaid that has V12, and I tested yesterday. It was still not perfect. It was good, but not perfect. So I don't know what you're talking about. There's too many Tesla fanboys. You got to be real, okay? You gotta like be objective about things. Highway, near perfect. City, nowhere near perfect. I will give it more testing today, though. I'll purposely drive it out. I'll select a destination to some local restaurant, and I'm going to see how good it is. And if I get in a crash, I'm going to send a bill to all you guys that say how good it is. Have I looked at R Block, AI, Web3 Big Killer? No, I have not. Abdul, no. Man, this is a pretty good recovery, despite the U.S. market looking absolutely horrible. Horrible today. Due to PCE data, which shows inflation is growing, and GDP data, which shows the economy is slowing down. So it's actually the worst combination if you think about it. So people are spending less, yet inflation is going up. So what do you do as a Fed? If you cut rates, it's going to supposedly help inflation, but will that spur up growth? I guess so. I don't know if that will. I think what will spur up growth is more stimulus packages that will increase inflation. I don't know. Maybe cutting rates will do it, but you can't really cut rates when inflation is going up, right? You can't do it because inflation is going to go higher. So if you're going to stimulate GDP growth, that means people buy more. That means inflation goes up. So you can't really do that. I don't know. If I was Powell, I'll just like turn in my resignation. I wouldn't know what to do with this information. Like, what are you supposed to do? Leaning towards F-type for stealth over Lambo. I don't know about that. Jaguar F-type or what other F-type? No. If you don't want to show off, then don't buy a Lambo. That's just don't do it. Just buy like a nice Audi or something, or a nice Mercedes. You could buy whole lot without needing to buy a Lambo. William says, women like a man with a powerful gas engine. They like to feel the power between their legs or underneath their bottoms. Don't fade Lambo on Sol. Nothing goes straight down unless it's a rug pull. Then yes, it does go straight down to zero. If Bitcoin could break above Okay, so it hit this resistance slash support. It's 63.7. If it could break above and hold above today, it'll be really good like this. But right now, it's below and hitting it as a resistance. So we'll see, because the U.S. markets are absolutely horrendous right now. So if it can break above and hold, that would be very good. But the fundamentals have not changed, guys. You guys know that. What are your thoughts on Polygon's Pigcoin? I don't know. The only Polygon meme I support is Kulo. All the other ones have pretty much died out and they're non-existent. So Kulo, I know it's lower from its high, but still way higher than its bottom and still holding strong. Can you protect yourself from a rug pull with a stop loss? No. Basically, if they pull the liquidity, which most likely they will, it just goes straight to zero. You can't even sell it. AJ said, follow you since Bitcoin at 38K, made gains. Now I want to ask you if it's a good idea to hold all Bitcoin during the next bear market or sell and buy again, 50-50 thoughts. Hey, it really depends on what happens next year. Okay, obviously, if you know that there is going to be a correction, you want to have that cash. A lot of people don't sell and never have cash on the side, so they have no choice but to hold on to crypto, and they can't buy the dip, right? So I would say as we get closer to the top, whatever that may be, right? And we'll see in 2025 how high Bitcoin pushes. That's when you need to look at your cash pile and say, well, is it non-existent? If it's so, I need to take some profits and put in that cash pile, right? And slowly increase that cash pile. Right now, I'd say 20, 25, 30% in cash would be good. But as we get closer to the top, increasing that from 30 to 40 to 50, or maybe even a little bit more, 60 or 70%. I would say for me, I'm always going to keep some in crypto. I'll never sell it all. But it would be wise to have that cash pile in case we do go lower, and then you can buy the dips as much as you want, basically. Instead of a Lambo, I may buy a $100,000 airport pass so I can fly anywhere in the U.S. or the world. One-time payment, you get unlimited flights. Yeah, but probably unlimited flights in the economy. Who wants to fly around the world in the economy? You want to fly in world. They had 100,000 pass before, I think in the 90s, where you could fly first class anywhere forever. And then Delta really regretted it and basically canceled that. So otherwise, flying economy, you could pick flights that are like $100. You have to fly 1,000 times to make your 100,000 back. All right, guys. To conclude, yes, it's a little bit scary today, but you know, Bitcoin is coming up. Despite the US having horrible numbers with GDP and PCE, Bitcoin is the way. It's the ultimate hedge against inflation. Okay, and the fundamentals are still as strong as ever. So don't give up, my friends. Continue to DCA and HODL, and I will see you guys tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.